So for today's video, we're going to be watching Vars' video, Why No One Plays Sora. I actually helped Vars make this video, give him some input and my own thoughts on these things. This isn't my video, right? This is his thoughts and his conclusions. I only helped him out with what my opinions were. So let's see how much he agrees and disagrees with me. What's up, guys? We'll learn how to play neutral from one of the best defensive players in the world. Your boy Dabuz is given a class on September 27th where I go in depth into how I have crafted my neutral into the amazing wall it's known today. Check it out if you're interested.
I'm certain that for many of us, we have a love-hate relationship with DLC characters in Smash Ultimate. On one hand, it's simultaneously insane and hilarious for there to be such a vast array of cast members from all genres and franchises. Fighters Pass 1 established a growing concern over DLC fighters intentionally being made broken.
I like the music. You can barely hear the music in the background.
Sales at the expense
So
of the
good.
pro scene's competitive spirit. Sadly, Fighters Pass 2 would solidify those concerns. Fortunately though, it
Yeah. So I would say Sora's the only character that doesn't feel like a Fighters Pass 2 character. And that is not a good thing.
Interestingly, however, unlike the other 5 members of Fighters Pass 2,
Hey, that's me.
Sora's debut in the competitive scene was nothing short of underwhelming, and there isn't as much widespread adoption of him into players' character pools across all levels of play. So for today, we're going to dive into why no one plays Sora, and if there's a possibility he could see more representation in the future. A good number of you might think it's a little premature to make an episode on a fighter who's only been out for just under a year, but that's actually why I wanted to make an episode on this. Prior to writing this, I was having a conversation with Dabuz on Sora.
Hey, that's me! Wow, oh my god, crazy. I don't know, I just like saying every time I hear my name, I just go, hey, that's me. I don't know why, I think it's a funny meme.
Noah's gonna make a reaction to this. Hi Sam, good to see you again. Anyways,
He knows.
I was motivated to make an episode on Sora mainly due to how different his experience has been so far compared to the rest of his cadre. Min, Steve, Sephiroth, the Aegis, and Kazuya wasted no time making a name for themselves in pro play. Sora's results were a stark contrast though, becoming infamous just like his peers but in a totally different way, perhaps even worse. There were several instances where Sora was fielded by top players and everyone's immediate reaction to it is that they either gave up or it's a copium last-ditch effort to matchup check their opponent. Stuff like that.
It's really annoying to try and play Sora, and people just go, wow, he's trying to lose, he's trying to throw, raising the white flag, whatever. Granted, this because the results aren't good, but it only adds to not wanting to play the character when everyone's like, yo, he's gonna lose, he pulled out Sora, lol, GG. So it was very funny. I was actually looking this video up so I can make my video on it, right? And then I saw this. Granted, this is a meme video, but it was really funny to see this video and comments like this. Pretty good Sora. Got a knife online. So I know what I'm talking about. And like I said, this person knows a meme video is a joke, but it's a meme video deriving of all the constant negativity about the character towards the top players trying to make him work. At some point, all the memes and the joking and the not memes, honestly, and just people being jerks about the Sora players trying to put in work and getting shit on, makes it hard to have motivation to keep trying a character out.
The meme status of Sora's viability escalated to a point where everyone was cheering on Meister to win a single game on him at SmashCon, and I'd wager it wasn't out of genuine support for him. Not to be cynical, but I think everyone already accepted that Onin was gonna win the whole thing. They
that was
just wanted
fucking
some last
great.
minute amusement.
What he told me I looked sad, and I was, but not because of the confetti. It's because I'm pretty sure I'm the first person to lose to Meister Sora in top 8. That's what I was sad about. That's the only reason I was sad.
You're against the Steve, so thank God.
I don't want to be remembered like that.
That actually brings us to the first
Bro, I never saw the interview. Oh my god, bro, the shots. That's exactly what I mean. Get memes off of trying Sora out winning a game.
Repeated failures give off a negative impression. When you see someone getting destroyed over and over again, it doesn't exactly make you want to dedicate lots of time and
That's
effort
me
into
right there.
using them. Not unless you're only playing them for fun. What's intriguing is that Zachary managed to win Kagadi 5, a super major with over 500 entrants using exclusively Sora, who at the time was out for less than 2 weeks. Some may attribute his brief victory to Zachary as a player and not Sora's own merits, but at the same time it speaks to his potential, and that lets me segue into the parts of his gameplay that make tapping into that potential far more difficult than initially anticipated.
Yeah, right? And this is one of the reasons I always try to say when people ask about Sora, maybe not super recently, but I've tried to be very optimistic about the character. I don't like to be pessimistic about a character that's more new and we haven't seen the full growth of the character, especially when people see top players perform pro with the character, they probably think, oh, the character stinks. I basically don't want to be defeatist with the character and make other people not try him, because the character legitimately does have a lot of potential to be good, even if it's getting very hard nowadays to honestly believe in that, based on my own experiences and others with the character.
Fighters Pass 2 consisted of entries with very unorthodox playstyles and mechanics. Min Min, for example, completely lacks your traditional specials.
Let's go, Min Min.
Use of her other arm. Steve offers
so cool.
a near limitless amount of possibility with his mining
Let's
and block
go,
mechanics.
Steve.
Pyra and Mithra, while
We love
straightforward,
drawing
are
on the
effectively two entities
stream.
built into one character. And
Funny
Kazuya
art.
has almost double the number of attacks out of any standard cast member. But in Sakura's own words, he describes Sora's controls as relatively straightforward,
Kazuya.
and that's true on a surface
Kazuya. I think I
level.
just
The bulk
forgot
of his
Sephiroth. First forgot Sephiroth as a Fighters Pass 2 character. Honestly, he's the most honest of all the minus Sora, so can't blame him.
that is rather easy to understand with the majority of his attacks involving swinging his Keyblade around. And unlike Sephiroth, whose overwhelming
there we go.
effective range is accompanied by varying hitboxes, the need for spacing your attacks isn't as crucial on Sora. At least, that's how it appears. In actuality, Sora may be even more difficult to play than Sephiroth or Pyra and Mithra than everyone once thought. Sora suffers from a huge amount of inconsistency within his kit. There's a lot of nuance to his gameplay that causes him to feel surprisingly incongruous compared to what is expected
That's a big word right there, incongruous. I don't even know what that means, but I'm assuming it's complicated.
from a sword fighter. His personal gimmick is the multi-input attacks that make up several parts of its kit. Jab, forward tilt, neutral air, forward air, neutral B, and side B. To better understand how this can be an obstacle for him, let's look at his neutral air. The first hit has him somersaulting forwards with the Keyblade following a circular pattern, which then transitions into an upward strike followed by a downward
Such
strike.
cool
with the
animation.
third hit. Like other multi-inputs, such as Roy's double-edged dance or Snake's forward tilt, you can decide whether to continue the full string or not. On paper, this works to Sora's advantage, opening up the door to a wide stretch of combos that other swordies could only
Trainer
dream
mode
of.
on DK.
But it also leads to a game plan that's somewhat counterintuitive to why most players opt into using a swordie. To account for the need to string together multiple hits in quick succession, combo-reliant characters generally excel in close quarters combat. As long as they're right next to their opponent, they more or less can take care of everything. Sword fighters, their usage of a weapon for their attacks instead of punches or kicks, prefer to focus on mid-range combat, spacing themselves just far enough to where they can successfully deal damage to their opponent without exposing themselves to counterattack. In exchange for their greater effective range, swordies compromise their ability to perform long combo strings, either due to lower hit stun across the board, higher knockback scaling, less mobility to keep up with their target, slower frame data, or a combination of them.
Having a sword is broken, so you have to compensate for having a sword somehow.
Not to say that swordies are incapable of performing combos, but they're not as extensive or all-encompassing. In a way, Sora is a sword fighter with the mindset of a combo fighter, while still having the base properties of a sword fighter, thus leading to some inconsistencies in his gameplay. Without getting too
I didn't know Ferps was another person who got hit by the down 02 pick Sora curse. Feels bad.
technical, Sora's hitboxes aren't very conducive towards each other.
Yeah, I was gonna say before we move on to this part, that's an interesting way to think about it. That like the character plays like a brawler. Yeah, you don't really get the best combos off of his tipper hits. Granted, a lot of swordies do have better combos off close range hits, which are less safe. But Sora especially like really needs to hit like his close range hitboxes to reliably get the big stuff. Because he can hit with like tipper fair, tipper nair, and he'll get some damage. And there's actually a lot of strings that require like tipper hitboxes. But like close range nair like really leads to crazy stuff. Like close range fair gives you more mix.
If we go back to the neutral air example, taking into consideration the differences in position of its disjointed hitboxes, each one has varying levels of hit stun. On screen I have an image that's one of the most egregious visual offenses I've ever witnessed in my entire life.
I showed Vars this one. I was trying to explain why Sora Nair sucks to use. Holy shit.
Who the uses Comic Sans in this day and age? But I'll put up with
I like Comic Sans.
there for the sake of explanation. Just kidding, Zach, you're awesome. Anyways, each of Sora's Nair 1 hitboxes has different amounts of hit stun, less at the hilt and more at the tip. Depending on which one you land, you either gain access to some combos or lose access to others. More importantly, depending on where Sora is when that strikes or which active frame actually hits, your attacks can straight up fail to connect into each other. It's not that Sora's attacks are broken in the sense that they don't work, but there's a lot more total area his attacks cover than your usual combo fighters, and there's not enough margin for error in all the different areas where his opponent will get hit relative to where he is, or what active frame landed the attack. Ironically, one of his best traits is the abundance of lingering hitboxes, giving off the impression that he's easy to play. Granted, he is. Sora's a very low skill floor, but he also has an incredibly high skill ceiling.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people also like tried the character and thought the character was very good at first. There's a lot of really basic combos and basic stuff with the character that works because he has a lot of wide arcing hitboxes, good projectile game, and he's basically just annoying.
The difference between him and other difficult characters though is that he's missing the other ancillary properties to take full advantage of his strengths. Sora's a very multi-step character.
So before we go into this, I want to say that the Nair is really silly, right? Let me pull up the hitbox on this move. Different amounts of hit stun. Here. You have to factor in not only that hit stun of positioning, because some combos might only work actually on getting this part of Nair because you're close enough to like follow up with something Whereas you might have a different combo that's just as effective with the tipper nair, but it's a different combo, and you have to recognize as you're using Sora, did I hit this nair, this nair, this nair, or did I hit him with this nair, like this nair, like this nair, right? Like. And then you have to know things like, did they have frame 2 air dodgers like frame 4? They have other combo escapes. What is their fall speed? What is their weight? What's your rage? All these factors kind of like add up together to give you an idea of, I hit you with nair, what's my combo? You have to kind of like know before as you swing in the nair if you're going to connect and where you're going to connect and how you're going to connect.
Multiple steps mean multiple chances to make a mistake or unforced error. Fortunately, combo-heavy fighters have ways to either physically or psychologically pressure their opponent to open and set up those combos so that if they failed once, they can just open a new one again. Mario has Fireball to condition you into shielding. Captain Falcon runs extremely fast. Terra can pressure your shield like there's no tomorrow. What does Sora have? Well, nothing really. In fact, Sora's missing the entire other half of the equation that is needed for a satisfying and effective combo character. To start, his slow and floaty air physics make the game uncomfortable for that kind of playstyle. The two ways you can apply pressure are speed and range, neither of which he excels at. Sora,
I'd say he has solid range. Granted, it's not like insane range. His sword is a little bit smaller than most like traditional swordies like Lucina or Mirth. But yeah, the floatiness, if you like jump at the wrong time, not only can you potentially miss a combo, but you could potentially be in a bad spot because you dropped your very technical combo, and they have to land for someone who said, oh, he dropped the combo. Time to juggle him, which makes you not want to jump, which means you can't use the aerials and apply pressure as well. Being so floaty really makes it hard to like chase and push advantage and stay on top people without overextending.
Sora's mobility on the ground is subpar, and he doesn't have the best moveset to contest the majority of the cast on the ground. His aerial game is excellent, but only when he has a positional or situational advantage. Otherwise, he has deceptively poor air-to-ground combat where swordies dominate in Ultimate. His aerials are average in speed. Nair's frame.
Yeah, it's just because his ground moves, like, he doesn't have an up tilt that's quick with very low lag that covers a huge arc, like pretty much every other sword he does. And then like forward tilt and jab with decent airs, but they're all pretty committal.
Forward air's frame 10, back air's frame 13, up air's 10, down air's 15. Not bad, but not great either. In air-to-air combat, unless he spaces well, he's outmatched. Speaking of range, that's another issue. By and large, he's a swordie, but his attack range doesn't extend adequately enough in relation to his frame data. He has roughly the same coverage as Roy, even though Roy's aerials are significantly faster and stronger. The exception to this is back air, his main spacing tool in neutral, but it's too slow and too unsafe on shield compared to similar back airs.
Yeah, like in theory, it's a big hitbox on a character with good air drift, and it's pretty safe, decent range, but he's so slow they start positioning it, and when his back's facing you, he's kind of linear, and like they're just better versions of his back air. Granted, Cloud's broken, but like Cloud back air is a much better version. Even like a Roy or Crown back air, a Lucina back air. Like there's a lot of swordies who just have about as good, if not better, back airs, but attached to much better ability to utilize that back air.
Sephiroth's back air has 2 more frames of startup, but overshadows Sora's back air in reach by a wide margin, and its unsafety on shield is made irrelevant on the basis of hardly anyone having the range to punish it if spaced correctly. There's also another element that detracts from his pressure. Since he doesn't move very fast in the air, you have more time to see him coming, and therefore mentally prepare for a response against him than you do other swordies. One of the arguments in defense of Mithra is that her attacks are unsafe on shield. That is a valid statement to make in concept, however, Mithra's unparalleled mobility and fast frame data allow her to get away with it because she can rush you down very quickly. So even if she hits you with down tilt, which is -11 on shield, enough to be punished by a lot of things, not many people have the reaction speed to realize, I just blocked a down tilt, let's do an up smash out of shield. And by
Yep. I would say his reaction time's huge, and Sora is just too reactable in every like single aspect of the game.
the way I see it, he's in a limbo zone. Sora's range is better than melee characters, but worse than most other swordies. His combo game is better than swordies, but worse than melee characters, and his physics don't fit too well into either close or mid-range combat. Ultimately, this forces Sora into an uncompromisingly defensive with punish game plan, relying on his lingering hitboxes in an effort to punish reckless approaches in neutral or frame trap enemies while on disadvantage. In a general format, that wouldn't be grounds to low representation. Steve is all
I think that's a big thing, is that he's so good at the defense. Like as a character, Sora on defense is really strong. If you have a lead with Sora, or if you're fighting a character that has to approach, straight has to, he's good. He's very good there. But the problem is the moment he has to make something happen, he's getting hit by projectiles. He's at deficit. Like he doesn't have that. Like he's so good at what he's good at, but what he's good at is not what wins you games in Ultimate. It's what loses you games slower in Ultimate is a good way to describe it.
To his credit, Sora is not without options to force approaches. His neutral special contains 3 separate attacks with their own distinct functions, 2 of which can be used at a relatively safe distance. And if we combine his floaty nature with long-lasting hitboxes, he can artificially extend his spacing game by drifting back with aerials, and it makes for a decently enjoyable experience to those who have the patience to wait for their opponent to make a mistake. That said, the people who espouse that kind of playstyle are in the minority, and so competition is spread extremely thin. But the video would be 30 minutes long if I went on that tangent.
Yeah,
this type of playstyle.
This is a funny set. If you guys ever saw Min Main vs. Shaq, Min Main basically just made this set last forever, and it was the worst thing in the world. So if he wants to, can time you out, kind of. I say kind of because you can pressure him in these spots if you know what you're doing, but it's scary.
Is very good at not losing, but in gaining that sort of defense,
see,
you lose some.
Good at not losing. Wow, I'm a psychic.
You're not the best at winning either. Winning the old-fashioned way, that is. Smash Ultimate naturally favors going second. After all, in a game of rock, paper, scissors, if your opponent chooses their option first, you can just choose the option that beats them. In order to do that, however, you have to make your opponent play rock, paper, scissors, usually against their will. That's what advantage and disadvantage is in a nutshell. You coerce your opponent, or your opponent coerces you into playing rock, paper, scissors. Even with Sora's unimpressive endurance, his amazing recovery and defensive play buys him the time he needs to find those openings. What he lacks is the faculty to bait that aggression. He has all the tools to be successful, and just to lay all doubts to rest, Sora is a good character, but a piece of every puzzle within him is missing, and the Smash community doesn't really care to find them at this point. Sora came out too late. Worse yet, he's arguably the most balanced Fighters Pass 2 character, after being inundated with meta-shattering units like Joker, Terry, Min Min, Steve, Sephiroth, the Aegis, Kazuya, who all have very threatening mechanics. In contrast, Sora feels ordinary.
I would say he feels like a character that would fit the game on release. Like if Sora was an ultimate release character, I wouldn't be surprised. People kind of are comfortable with what they have. They're either playing a character they enjoy, or they're playing a character that's really good to win. And granted, people enjoy Sora, but what's more fun? Learning another character if you're not playing the game a lot, or playing your same old character you've played for however long? And like I say, if you want to win, you're just not playing Sora. There's just no reason to.
During my conversation with Dabuz, I think he said it the best. Sora is a character who required ample amounts of experimentation and grinding. His inherent unforgiving margin for error, deceptively high skill ceiling, and defensive playstyle makes him a late bloomer. Someone whose true value can only be ascertained after a long period of time. You guys remember when Regalo was upsetting people left and right at SmashCon this past August, right? Or how Big D got second at Get On My Level with Ice Climbers, or how Sumosuto got third at My Suma Top 9 with Dr. Mario.
Or me with Rosa, right? How long to get used to some of her tech and actually apply it consistently in bracket. Imagine starting to learn that just now. By the time you finish learning all the tech, 2-3 years later, and applying it comfortably in bracket, probably next Smash game comes out.
But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yep. Yeah. Like I talked with him about this, and some of the conclusions we come to, or some of the reasons were slightly different, but obviously we're pretty much on the same page. I tried to make this character work for a while. I put a lot of time into this character. People go, oh, Buzz didn't try this character enough. Mice didn't try this character enough. I can tell you right now, we put a lot of time into labbing the character, practicing versus good players. But even now, I'm seeing more and more people give up on the character. I don't know if Meister has. I basically have, sadly, as I play him casually. I know Opana, a more notable Sora player, has been constantly entertaining the idea of playing another character because he doesn't think Sora can do it by himself, right? And he was one of more notable, optimistic Sora players. And no one's really showing us hey, we're wrong. Even Kamame. People love playing Kamame as the best Sora, which fine, he can be. But his results with Sora are worse than they were when he played other characters, in my honest opinion. I feel like playing Sora has given him the worst results he's ever had in Ultimate. And he's been playing the character a lot since release. He's the best Sora, right? That says a lot. I think a lot of people would love to be proven wrong because this character is so fun, but so much work for no reward so far. Alright, y'all, hope you thought this was interesting. Hear my little take of this. Catch you later.